Hello BookTube, this is Aaron from Aaron Read a Book or Aaron Read a Book, and I've amazingly got another tag. I've done 2 tags in a row, which is unlike me, but this is a very easy tag to do, especially for me, because it is the 10 Untouched Books tag. And I've really enjoyed watching people do this one, and it was created by Maurier Books, and the only prompt is talk about 10 books that you've had in your TBR for over a year, and I probably have, I would imagine, 400 or 500 books that meet that criteria. So I literally just had to wander around my room for 10 minutes and find 10 books. So let's go through some of the ones I found that interested me today. Annoyingly, I just paused my recording because I realised the first book I picked up I got for Christmas last year, so I can't use it, and then I forgot to restart the recording. So I have just gone through this entire video once already, so I'm going to do it quickly again. I'll go backwards this time. Number 10, Donna Tartt's The Secret History. This is the only Donna Tartt book that I haven't read. I really loved The Secret History and The Goldfinch. This one seems to be a bit more, well, I wouldn't say controversial, but people don't like this one as much generally, I don't think. But look at the weird little haunting cover. Yeah, it's a bit scary. But if you enjoy this one, let me know, because I want to hear the differing opinions on it. Next up, we've got The Odyssey by Homer, which is definitely the oldest book that I haven't read publication date wise that I own. Although it wouldn't have been published, would it? It would have been spoken aloud. About 5 years ago I read the Iliad, and I bought this at the same time. I think it was because when I first joined BookTube, like a lot of people started watching it, I watched Steve Donahue's Western Canon series of videos, and I was like, I will read the Western Canon and then I will have all human knowledge. But I didn't. I just read the Iliad, which I did enjoy a lot, and I liked Fagle's translation. And this is the cool Penguin Deluxe edition with the deckled edges and stuff. But yeah, I need to read this one because that Christopher Nolan film's coming out as well. So I've heard some experts saying that the costumes aren't correct, but it might be good. You never know. We'll see how it goes. I think it's sold out at some cinemas already, and it's not coming out for a year. Next book, number 3 or 7, if I'm going backwards. No, number 8 if I'm going backwards. I can't count. Is the Belgariad, Porna Prophecy by David Eddings. This is one of the most famous fantasy series that came out kind of after Lord of the Rings, and I think has the reputation of being a bit of a Lord of the Rings clone at the beginning, but I think it develops into its own sort of thing. But I love this cover. It's cool. It looks like it's got a little wizard on it and a man holding a sword and a princess, which is basically the key elements you need in a fantasy. But yeah, I've never got around to actually reading it. If you're a fan of the Belgariad, let me know. I don't think I've read any David Eddings actually. Next is a book my mum gave me, which is The Scapegoat by Daphne du Maurier. My mum's sort of reading experience is quite narrow. She tends to read either Daphne du Maurier or books about someone who's been wrongfully convicted of something, sort of non-fiction things. But she said this one was really good. She gave it to me. She read it last time she was visiting from New Zealand, and yeah, gave it to me and said it was a really good one. I think it's about doppelganger. But I think I hold this on my channel, so it's not too much over a year old, but maybe it's 2 years. But this sounds interesting, and I've liked every Daphne du Maurier book I've read so far, and I don't really hear anyone talk about this one on BookTube, but if you've read this one, let me know. Next, we've got one that I have heard a lot about on BookTube, is E.M. Forster's A Room with a View. And I know recently Ali from a big black hole, a genteel black hole, has been raving about his experiences with E.M. Forster. I don't even know where I got this copy from, so it must have been a long time ago. I have no recollection. I don't know if I bought it or if it just someone gave it to me or something. I do also have a passage to India, so I don't know which one to start with. If you have a preference for one or the other, let me know. I think this is a lot shorter than a passage to India. And I think there's a film with this, isn't there, with Daniel Day-Lewis perhaps, but I have not seen that either. But yeah, I've seen a lot of people raving about Ian Forster, and I've just completely missed out on him. This next one is probably one of the books I've had the longest on my TBR, my physical TBR, and the book that has existed in the world the longest, and that is this old edition of Sir Walter Scott's Rob Roy, and this copy is from 1829, and it's seen better days, but yeah, it's still surviving. But yeah, so nearly 200-year-old copy, but I have never read any Sir Walter Scott, and I'm kind of fascinated by the idea of him, because he was such a massive figure in literature in Victorian times. He was like, I don't know, he was like the J.K. Rowling of his time. Everyone knew who he was, and although I imagine he had more influence than J.K. Rowling perhaps, or maybe not, and just put a lot of fantasy since J.K. Rowling's come out. But yeah, he was like the household name, and he doesn't seem to have aged well, because people don't talk about him much anymore. Maybe his books have not stood the test of time as well, which is interesting to me. But every Victorian writer I love seems to mention him at some point. So I do at some point want to read one of his books. Maybe not this 200-year-old copy, but yeah, I'd like to see what all the fuss was about back then. I think he writes quite adventurous type stuff. Next, we're going to go to a science fiction writer who I actually prefer his fantasy, but Jack Vance is much more known for his science fiction. And this book I just picked up because it looked cool, and it was in a second-hand bookshop. And I think Jack Vance is a really good writer. He's quite literary. I think he's the most literary Ursula K. Le Guin-like writer that I've come across. One of them, maybe M. John Harrison as well. But yeah, he's for one of those sort of 70s sci-fi writers who churned out a lot of stuff. He is very readable and has good prose. But I really like his series, his Lyonesse trilogy, which is a fantasy series that starts with the book Suldrun's Garden. And I never see that talked about. I think it's absolutely great. It's one of my favourite ever fantasy series. But yeah, I've not read too much of his science fiction. I've read, I can't remember, is it The Dying Earth? I might be getting him mixed up with someone else. But I read his most famous science fiction book, and I didn't like it as much as the fantasy ones. So I do want to give him some more chances. Next is a fantasy author who is much more known for his science fiction, and that is Adrian Chikovsky, and Empire in Black and Gold it's called, which is the first book in his Shadows of the Apt series, and this actually came out, I think this is one of the first things he ever published, and into true sort of Adrian Chikovsky style, he's written a big, I think there's about 8 or 9 of these, but I never see people reading these on BookTube. But he's much, obviously, more known for his science fiction now, and he churns out so much science fiction that you don't really have much time to go back and read his back catalogue. But I picked this one up ages ago, and I did read one of his fantasy series. There's another fantasy series he did that has like tiger people in it or something, so, animal elements that he's sort of known for. But I wonder if this one does. It looks much more traditional fantasy with magic and swords and things. But yeah, let me know if you've read any of if anyone's read any of that. Next is another book someone gave to me, and this was, I don't know, it must have been nearly 10 years ago now. I like this shiny sort of radar cover, and that's Operation Mincemeat by Ben McIntyre. I've wanted to read Ben McIntyre for a while because I saw the author and TV producer Richard Osman talking about him and saying how page turnery his books are for non-fiction. I don't know if page turnery is a word, but many years ago I went to see the musical of Operation Mincemeat. I think it was in Richmond Theatre at the time, but now it's in one of the big theatres in London, and it was absolutely brilliant. I think it's the first musical I ever saw live, and it was so funny, and the songs are so brilliant, and the story is very interesting. So I'd love to read this book. And I remember Mel from Mel and Sue was in my in the theatre with us, and there wasn't that many people there, so it's funny seeing Mel from Mel and Sue and Bake Off and things there. But yeah, interesting. I've been meaning to get around to. I'm terrible at not reading books my friends lend me as well. It took me about 14 years to read Robin Hobb. I still haven't given that back. Lastly, we'll go with another fantasy writer, which is Joe Abercrombie, who is a bit of a booktube darling. And this is a standalone, I think, but it's a lovely big hardcover copy. I can't remember where I got it from. I might have just got it from eBay, but yeah, lovely copy. I don't really know much about this one, but if you don't know Joe Abercrombie, he's kind of known for his quite sweary, violent fantasy, but also for his sense of humour. His books are always funny. And I read that trilogy he did, that First Law trilogy, and that was good fun. I didn't quite love it as much as the raving reviews on BookTube would have had me believe, but I did enjoy it, and I will happily read more of his books. But yeah, I've heard quite good things about this one. I think I've seen people on BookTube read it. Let me know if you've read it. So those are the 10 books that I just randomly found on my shelves that are over a year old on my TBR. I could probably do another 100 quite easily, but this video would last forever, and I have already recorded it once before, so well, not recorded it obviously, but yeah, if you've read any of those or know anything about them, let me know down in the comments. Have a good one, BookTube. Bye.